Imagine you are taking a family vacation with 3 kids. You packed everything, drove 3 hours to the airport the night before, and checked in the next morning. You were all set, 3 hours early for boarding. And you finally thought, okay, we can breathe now. We made it. And 2, your flight took off with all your luggage for the entire week, and you were kicked off the airplane. How would you feel? How would you navigate a day like that? And how do you find gratitude when gratitude is the last thing on your mind? We all have moments in life when gratitude feels impossible. It's like everything is against you. Nothing is going right. But what if I told you those were the moments when you actually need gratitude the most? Gratitude is the very thing that can carry you through the tough moment, the tough days, and the tough seasons of your life. Today, I'm going to show you how to practice gratitude against all odds. Welcome to Love Forward with Eve. I'm Eve Kyle, relationship coach and women's empowerment coach. This channel is where we heal the past, empower the present, and love forward. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a shit to shift story in your life? Because the scenario that I mentioned to you in the beginning, that was a real story of my life. It was Thanksgiving week, 2022. We drove 3 hours from Durham to Charlotte the night before, checked into a hotel with all 3 kids, and believed we were ready for our first family flight at Charlotte Airport. We're flying to Alabama to get together with some family. We had a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Our oldest son is on autism spectrum. He's very sensitive to sound and very rigid with schedules. And that's why we had been putting off his first flight experience. And my husband always takes care of the logistics when we travel. He had done all the prep. He called the Autism Society, talked to the airport, and even drove to the airport the night before to check everything, just to make sure there would be no surprises. The next morning was smooth. Security was easy, people were kind and helpful. By 9:30, we were all set for our 12:30 flight. I spent 3 hours chasing the baby around, but overall, we felt good. Then the boarding time came. It was around baby's nap time. He was tired, overstimulated, and scared. It was his first time on the airplane. And since he was over 2, we had to get him his own ticket. But he just wanted to sit on my lap instead of being buckled in his own seat. He was getting upset. And when I tried to calm him down, this happened. The flight attendant came over and said the line I will never forget. "Excuse me, ma'am, this is too disturbing. I'll have to ask you to get off the airplane." I was like, what? I did not see that coming. The whole time we were worried about our oldest son, and now we're being kicked off the airplane simply because my 2-year-old was crying. And he was not even being hysterical. He was just upset and scared. And here is the ironic twist. My husband upgraded us to first class thinking it would make things easier, more space, calmer environment, and less stress. But sitting right behind the pilots and directly beside the flight attendants meant we had a spotlight on us. And that's why everything has 2 sides. And something meant to be good can suddenly flip into something bad. I've never heard of a crying baby not being allowed on an airplane, and I was shocked. So she repeated her request calmly but firmly. I was like, are you serious? I didn't want to make the baby more upset, so we gathered everything, picked up the kids, and walked off. And my daughter cried. The baby was overwhelmed. And surprisingly, my oldest, the one we worried about the most, was completely calm. It was like a miracle. The staff came over and apologized for the inconvenience. And I explained the situation. Our first flight, a son with autism, and a baby who was ready for a nap and scared to be buckled up. And they said we could try again. So we went back on the airplane and got ourselves seated. The baby was fine this time since I was holding him and he was literally falling asleep. Then another flight attendant came over and said, "Ma'am, you need to buckle him up now." I said, "Can you give me 1 more minute? I want to make sure he's asleep so I can transition him to the seat." And she said, "The flight is taking off. It has to be now." So I gently lifted him up off my chest, and of course, he woke up and he panicked. He was half asleep, he was confused, scared, and exhausted. The flight attendant came over right away and said, "I'm sorry, this won't work. You have to get off again." And at that point, I was already done with them too, so the feeling was mutual. We got up, grabbed our stuff, and got off the airplane the second time. And meanwhile, our luggage for our whole family for the whole week was taking off with the airplane. And that was it. Our very first family flight never took off. So we were sitting in the waiting room thinking about next step. The baby was sound asleep in my arms, and my daughter was in tears, and she said, "My first flight crashed." And that was the moment our number one belief kicked in. The belief I have told her ever since she was a baby. When something bad happens, that means something better will happen. So I reminded her of that belief, and she said, "Oh well, that means something amazing will happen because this is horrible." And I told her she was right. So we just have to look for the good. Later on, the baby woke up and said, "I'm scared. I wanted the car." And I knew his feelings were valid. And we were not going to force this flight to happen. We have two choices after that. Either we cancel the whole trip and go home feeling defeated, or cancel the flight and drive there so we could feel unstoppable and turn this whole thing into an empowering experience. So we went back to the hotel, picked up the car, drove 2 hours to Anderson to spend the night, since our oldest son had to follow his nighttime schedule very strictly. And the next day, for the very first time, we drove 9 hours with all 3 kids, something we would never have done, knowing our kids' limits with long road trips. But it turned out we were all more resilient than we knew. It ended up being the smoothest 9 hours on the road. I mean, who knew? It was like they matured overnight. That's the silver lining of adversity, right? It makes you grow. It strengthens you in ways you didn't think it was possible. This experience became our favorite family story. It made us closer and stronger. We collected so many precious memories during our road trip because of the misfortune of our flight experience. But it turned into so many blessings in disguise. There are 6 things I learned that help us pivot and find gratitude in the midst of chaos and frustration. Number 1, have unshakable belief. You can't control what happens in life, but you do need a belief that it grounds you, something you can return to when everything feels uncertain. For me, that belief is simple but unwavering. Everything happens for a reason, and always works out for my highest good. If something doesn't work out, it's because something better is on the way. I repeated that to my daughter so many times in car rides, bedtime chats, and tough moments that it's become part of her inner voice. So when this situation happened, yes, she was disappointed. Yes, she was sad, but she wasn't devastated. She wasn't crushed because she had that belief to stand on. She kept saying something good must come out of this. And watching her hold on to that truth in the middle of chaos, that was powerful. And that's what gratitude looks like in real life. Not pretending things are perfect, but holding on to faith even when your plans fall apart. And if you don't have that guiding belief yet, it's never too late to create one. So create one that feels true and empowering for you. Let it anchor you when life shakes you. Number 2, ask the right questions. When things go wrong, many people ask, why me? That question keeps you stuck in victim mode. Instead, ask these questions. Number 1, what is within my control right now? It shifts you from overwhelm to grounded focus. Number 2, what story am I telling myself? It shifts you from fear-based assumptions to empowered truth. Number 3, what is a challenge trying to teach me about myself? It shifts you from blaming to understanding so you can grow with clarity. Number 4, how can I respond differently than I normally would? It shifts you from old patterns to new possibilities. Number 5, what if this isn't happening to me, but for me? It shifts you from victimhood to empowerment. Number 6, how can I take one tiny step forward right now? It shifts you from feeling stuck to building momentum. Number 7, what resources would make this easier, and how can I get it? It shifts you from carrying everything alone to reaching out for help. Number 8, what do I need emotionally right now? It shifts you from emotional disconnect to emotional self-support. And that's exactly what happened for us. As we reflected on that later, my daughter and I realized that this situation was strengthening qualities we didn't even notice at first. Adaptability, flexibility, resilience. We saw firsthand that when one plan doesn't work, there's always another way. We just have to be creative. Number 3, change your perspective. Every situation has two sides. Yes, being asked to leave a plane twice was awful, it was stressful, embarrassing, and honestly, a moment no parent ever wants to experience. But what else was true? It gave us a funny family story we'll laugh about for years. One of those remember one moments that become part of your family history. It gave my daughter a real life lesson in resilience, not the kind you read about in books, but the kind you earn by moving through something uncomfortable and coming out stronger. It was good practice for my son. He handled the change, the waiting, and the disappointment better than we could ever imagine. We saw a side of him we hadn't seen before. It even tested our limits as parents and showed us how strong we are as a team. We learned how much we could handle together without falling apart. Every situation carries both the hardship and the hidden gifts. There's always a new angle to see. We just have to look for it. Number 4, reflect and refocus on what went well. When everything feels wrong, pause for a moment and ask yourself, what actually went right? It's a simple question, but it can shift the entire energy of a tough moment. For us, we had a car. We weren't stranded or helpless. We had a way to keep moving. My son was flexible. He adapted better than we expected. And that gave us hope that he's growing in ways we don't always see. My husband was calm and responsible. And even in the chaos, he stayed steady, and steadiness held all of us together. My daughter was understanding, not blaming. She could have complained or been upset, but instead, she chose compassion. That alone brought us so much peace. And when you can't find anything big, go back to basics. We're safe. We had options. We were together. Sometimes those basic things are actually the biggest blessings. When you intentionally look at what went well, your entire energy shifts from defeat to gratitude, from frustration to perspective, and from chaos to clarity. Number 5, adjust your expectation. We often get disappointed because we expect life to go a certain way. We think, I did everything right, so it should work. And when it doesn't, life seems unfair. Like life is breaking a promise. But life doesn't follow our plans, not because we failed, but because life has its own rhythm, its own timing, its own way of revealing what we're ready for. We can't control the external, the delays, the people, the circumstances, the unexpected twists. What we can control is how we think, how we feel, and how we respond in the moment. So loosen your expectations, soften your grip, flow with what is instead of fighting what you wish it would be. And remind yourself gently, things could always be worse. That doesn't mean minimizing your pain or pretending everything is fine. It means grounding yourself in perspective so your emotions don't get spiral. In our cases, things could have been so much harder if my son had meltdown completely, and it was totally possible, but he didn't. He stayed regulated, flexible, and surprisingly calm, and that alone was something to be so deeply grateful for. Number 6, celebrate the little things. Once we process emotions, start celebrating the small joys again. When we finally arrived after 9 hours on the road, the sky was purple and gold. It was breathtaking. My kids were laughing, looking for different shapes in the clouds. My daughter said she saw a cow and the baby shouted the cow jumped over the moon. It just turned into a moment of laughter and wonder. And we crossed into Alabama just as Sweet Home Alabama came on the radio. And it was magic. The big sign saying, "Welcome to Alabama." We all cheered and started to sing together. And when we finally got to the house, my husband's cousin came over with warm food. She cooked for us. And if none of this travel chaos had happened, we might never have experienced that level of kindness, generosity, and a family connection. Even in hardship, there are moments of grace, moments we need to remember, embrace, and hold on to. Those moments matter. They are the ones that carry you forward. And when you zoom out and look at the whole picture, you realize something powerful. Gratitude wasn't just the end of our journey, it was what got us through it. When you are in a difficult situation, and gratitude feels impossible, and that's exactly when you need it the most, to ground you, strengthen you, and shift your energy. So remember these 6 practices. Number 1, have an unshakable belief as your guide, a belief that you are supported, capable, and stronger than the moment you are in. Number 2, ask the right questions, questions that shift you from reaction to awareness and empowerment. Number 3, change your perspective. There's always another angle, another truth, and that can lighten the heaviness. Number 4, reflect and refocus. Your mind naturally looks for what went wrong. Gratitude teaches to look for what went right. Number 5, adjust your expectation. Life rarely follows your script, but it always brings what we're ready to grow through. Number 6, celebrate the little things, because sometimes the smallest joys are the ones that bring your heart back to life. Because even when life falls apart, something beautiful can still come out of it. I hope this story reminds you that gratitude isn't only for the easy moments, it's for the ones that test who you are and what you believe. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you have a warm, peaceful, and blessed Thanksgiving. Until next time, I'm Eve. This is Love Forward. See you in the next episode.